Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to go over the fundamentals of footsies for beginners, starting with the bare bones and how you can apply these in your game to therefore become a better player and make better decisions. All that being said, if you want to see more educational content like this down the road, then be sure as always to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to ask me questions live and direct, then be sure to follow me at kick.com/newfrontier. All the information will be down in the description below. So, what is footsies? Footsies is essentially ground game. It's all about creating space, giving and taking. That's really what it is. At its most simple, core, fundamental explanation, it really is all about ground control. You and the enemy are dancing to see who can achieve that space to where you can whiff punish the enemy, you can counter poke them, and essentially gain the advantage. So let's look at this very carefully. Now, in this game of Street Fighter 6, they did a really good job of actually allowing you to practice whiff punishing, but I want to go into more detail because this is practice, but I want to give you detail as to what this practice means. So in this case, I'm a Luke main, so I'm going to show you and explain things through Luke's perspective, but this can be applied to just about any character in the game, so use that to your advantage when needed. And in this case, I'm going to use Juri because Juri is one of the better neutral characters in the game. She has really strong buttons that can confirm into a lot of big damage if you're not careful. And so what we have here is Juri, right? Juri's buttons are very dangerous. Most notably her crouching medium kick, as you can see. So what am I doing right here? Right now, I am walking back and forth. I'm basically trying to match what my opponent is doing to me, right? And the reason why I'm doing this is because it's all about creating the space. But most notably, it's about staying within your safe space where you can whiff punish the enemy. So there's two differences here. Whiff punishing and counter poking. When you whiff punish somebody, you're standing just outside of their safe range of their most dangerous normal. So in the case of Juri, her dangerous crouching medium kick is fairly long in terms of its range, right? So we can look at this again, right? Look at where Juri is versus where I am and how far that button goes. You see that? It goes pretty far. So what you're looking to do as Luke or any character is you want to stay just outside of that maximum range of where that poke goes. That way you can whip punish them and get massive damage. Now a counter poke, I'll go very simply, is when you predict when the enemy is going to press something based upon their patterns of behavior. And see, you see counter hit on the left hand side? That is a counter poke. So we're going to go over that in detail afterward, but we're going to go step by step here. So whiff punishing is when you are just outside of the opponent's max range of their normal to where you can utilize your own moves to punish them. So how do you do this? Well, first you want to go into training mode like where I am now, and you want to pick your respective character, whether it's Luke, Honda, even Juri. Check all of your buttons. Look at your lights, look at your mediums, look at your heavies, and just look at the range of each of those buttons. What do these buttons do? Because every character has their own unique characteristic and how they apply pressure. In the case of Luke, Luke's buttons advance him forward. So what does that mean? It means that Luke wants to be the aggressor. He usually wants to be in your face to get most of the damage. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he has to play super aggressive. He also has sandblast, right? He can zone people out. He can walk forward. But also, you want to be paying attention to the walk speed of your character. This is also very important when it comes to playing footsies, because if your walk speed is fairly slow, then you've got to ask yourself, well, how do I whiff punish somebody who's faster than me? Well, all of it's very simplified, right? It all comes down to the same principle, whereas I said before, you want to be in the safe range where you're out of the max range of the enemy, but you're in the safe range for yourself to push a button. So knowing your character's walk speed will determine whether you walk back more or you walk forward more. All of these things you have to adjust and just adapt to on the fly. So let's do this replay, right? So here we have we have Jury, and now I've recorded her to do jabs just as an indicator to know when she's going to try and pressure me, right? So look what I'm doing. I'm walking back and forth. I'm trying to gauge what the Jury player wants to do. So I'm staying outside of that range, and look, you see what I did? Whiff punish. So that whiff punish was based not on a reaction, but rather it was based on the prediction of the enemy's movement. So I want to make this very clear that FOOTSIES, or at least whiff punishing, is not a means of reacting, it's a means of predicting the opponent. That's what FOOTSIES is all about. You want to predict the enemy because you're watching them move back and forth. And typically, when a character or your opponent moves forward, they typically want to be the aggressor, which means they're probably going to throw out a button that they want to punish you with, because they see that, oh, you're in my range? Nope, you're not. You're just outside of their range. So basically, you're giving them the impression that they're safe, but they're not. That's what you want to do, right? You want to be just outside of that range to where they think they're safe to press a button, but you can press yours and you can maximize profits by going into a drive rush combo or just keeping it simple like this. Look at that. You see what happened there? So Luke has two buttons that are really, really impactful. He has standing or crouching medium kick, and he has sweep. Now, as you can see there, sweep was really powerful because it gave Luke the chance to be right up in Jury's face for a nice okizeme. You can walk up for a throw, you can do an overhead, many different things you can do after that hard knockdown, right? So this is why it's really, really important to know which buttons of your character are going to be very, very impactful when it comes to playing FOOTSIES, because this will determine whether or not you get a good cash out, right? Look at this, boom, right in front of your face, and now you're knocked down. So that's what a whiff punish is. It's predicting what the enemy wants to do, and you're prepared for it. It's not reacting. Now, reacting is part of the formula, but it is not the actual basis around FOOTSIES. You want to predict what the enemy wants to do, and as a result of predicting what they're going to do, because you're thinking in your mind, okay, so Jury's walking forward. Why is she walking forward? There's a pretty good chance that she's walking forward because she wants to apply pressure, right? So you see Jury, she's walking, right? She's walking forward towards you, and then boom, crouching medium kick, right? So you have to always look at what the opponent's doing within neutral. Neutral gives you information, and through this information, you can then determine what needs to be done next. So I'll throw out my normals here, right? I'm going to bait you out, and then boom, right? So you want to be able to recognize that when enemies walk forward, you walk back, right? Give them the necessary space, right? It's all about the dance. Boom, you see what happened there? So I got counter hit, right? So that's a counter poke. So what a counter poke is when you predict that the enemy is going to press a button and you immediately know that. So therefore, before they even have a chance, before that startup of the move comes out, you have already counter poked them to therefore get the advantage. That's a counter poke. So counter poke is when you see counter hit versus a whiff punish where you see punish counter. So let's just do this again. Right there, see, you see counter hit? So I predicted that the Jury was going to press a button because she was already walking forward. So what did I do? I matched her pace. I took a risk because walking forward into unsafe range is uncomfortable. But you, as the player, you have to learn that taking risks can sometimes be of great benefit, and putting yourself in uncomfortable positions can be impactful, especially when you're able to counterpoke the enemy and get results that you want. You can go into a combo, you can do whatever you want, hit confirms, whatever you want to do. That's what counterpoking is. But the most powerful thing, as I mentioned, is whiff punishing, because you don't have that much risk, right? All you're doing is you're playing just outside of their max range. You're safe, right? There's nothing wrong with you walking back here. You have all the space in the world to work with. So if they walk towards you and they're trying to hit you, you can counterpoke them like right there, or you can do even better, or you can just wait and just whiff punish them. So that is the fundamentals of what FOOTSIES is. So you don't want to be jumping in and giving up space, because look what jumping in does to you, right? So when you jump in, what jumping in does is you're giving up all that real estate that you have, right? Look at this space. Look at where I am now compared to where I was here, right? And this all, again, correlates to whoever character you're using. Some characters want to be back here. For Luke, it's okay, because I can just sandblast you from a mile away and I'm okay. I can use that as a means to walk forward and pressure you. But some characters want to be up close. But rather than jumping in and giving up all that real estate to where you can be punished severely for this, just walk. Walk forward, block. Walk forward, block. Walk forward, block. And by doing this, this also helps you to learn better whiff punishing, because you're walking forward, you're inching forward, and you walk back. Walk forward, walk back. So all that you're doing is you're gauging the enemy. You're getting a feel for what the enemy is trying to do to you, and then you punish accordingly. Boom, right? That's what you want to be doing. You want to be gauging the enemy as much as you possibly can. And once you see the opportunity, you strike. Now that was a counter poke, but again, you want to be gauging, predicting, right? Boom, counter poke. I mean, a whiff punish, sorry. So I got poked there. See, I was inside of her range. So this is why you have to be in training mode to know exactly where to position yourself, because otherwise, if you're just walking into a game and you're unsure what to do, you're always going to walk into someone else's normals, and then you're going to be thinking, why am I always losing? Well, it's because you're walking into their space, right? Just like that. So you don't want to be, again, you don't want to be reacting. You want to be predicting, right? You want to be predicting what the enemy is going to do, because once you predict them, it becomes easier to respond to it. That's the difference. When you can predict something, it becomes easier to respond versus just trying to guess what they're doing. So as a beginner, of course, this is going to take time, but I want to make this very clear that as long as you keep practicing and you just take what I've given you as far as advice, learn to walk forward, walk back, learn to walk forward and block, learn to walk forward and block, walk back and block, and just remember, stay just outside of that maximum range. Go into training mode and try this against every character versus your character, and therefore you'll see the results over time. And then again, it just becomes a pattern of practice and consistency, and in no time you'll be the whiff punish king or queen, and boom, you'll go from bronze to gold to diamond in no time. So all that being said, I hope this fundamental little tutorial of FOOTSIES gave you some insight for beginners. Remember, this is for beginners. This is not for intermediate or experts. I want beginners to understand the concept of what whiff punishing is and counter poking and how it can benefit you. And so if you enjoyed this, as always, like, comment, subscribe. Catch me live on Kick, and I'll see you folks on the next video. Take care and peace out.